There's this kind of hidden code, an ancient program that's running inside your brain right now. And guess what? It's quietly sabotaging your financial decisions. It's the real reason why so many smart, hardworking people just struggle to build wealth. See, it's not about how much effort you put in. It's all about your wiring.
So let's just ask the big question right up front. Is your brain actually, literally programmed to lose money? Well, the short answer is, kinda, but probably not in the way you're thinking. And by the end of this, you're going to understand exactly why this happens and, more importantly, what you can actually do about it. Okay, let's get into it.
See, the whole problem really boils down to a conflict between two different minds living inside your head. On one side, you've got the survival brain. This is the one that evolved over hundreds of thousands of years to do one thing: keep us alive. And on the other side, you have the investor brain, the one we desperately need to navigate modern financial markets. The big problem? We're stuck using this ancient survival software for a world it was never, ever designed for.
So here's our game plan. First, we're going to get to know our ancient brain. Then we'll uncover 3 major glitches in its programming, why we're so terrified of losses, the real danger of following the crowd, and that tricky trap of short-term thinking. And then, at the end, we'll build a system for success that actually works with your brain, not against it.
All right, first up, your ancient investor brain. I want you to think of your mind like it's running on an old operating system. I mean, an operating system designed for a world of immediate life-or-death threats. And it hasn't had a major update in, about 100,000 years.
Let's really put this in perspective. For almost all of human history, our focus was super simple. Find food, don't get eaten, stick with your group. That's it. Stock markets? They're a really recent invention. And digital trading on your phone? That's brand new. So the brain we use to click buy or sell today is the exact same one that was designed to run from a saber-toothed tiger.
And this is where it gets really wild. Neuroscience shows us something incredible. When you see your portfolio value dropping, your brain doesn't just see a number on a screen. It perceives a genuine physical threat. The same parts of your brain that light up when you feel actual pain are activated. That's why a market dip feels less like a statistic and more like you've been punched in the gut, triggering this powerful, overwhelming panic response.
And that leads us directly to our first major programming bug. It's a phenomenon called loss aversion, and it explains why our emotional reactions to money are so lopsided and, let's be honest, often completely irrational.
So, what is loss aversion exactly? Well, it's a huge deal in behavioral finance. The idea, which comes from psychologists Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky, is pretty simple. The psychological pain we feel from a loss is about twice as powerful as the pleasure we feel from an equal-sized gain.
Just think about it this way. The joy you get from making, say, 10,000 rupees is pretty good, right? But the pain you feel from losing that same amount is way, way more intense. It's why people cling to a losing stock, telling themselves, oh, I'll just wait for it to break even. They're not making a smart, strategic decision. Their brain is desperately trying to avoid that sharp, stinging pain of admitting they made a mistake.
Okay, next up, let's talk about our social programming. Our survival brain learned a long time ago that it's way safer to stick with the tribe. But in the world of investing, this instinct, what we call herd mentality, can be incredibly destructive.
In the modern-day driver of this herd instinct is something I guarantee we've all felt: FOMO, the fear of missing out. It is that powerful, primal pull to do what everyone else is doing just because they're doing it.
This little internal monologue? That's your survival brain kicking into high gear. When you see some stock or crypto asset that's going to the moon and it feels like everyone is piling in, your brain isn't thinking about fundamentals or valuations. Nope. It just sees the tribe moving, and it screams at you that if you don't join them, you risk being left behind all alone.
And the financial consequences of this are, frankly, devastating. Following the crowd usually means you're buying at the exact moment an asset is most expensive and most popular, right at the peak. This is exactly what inflates market bubbles. It causes people to completely ignore what they're buying and instead focus only on the hype, which almost always leads to a disastrous crash.
All right, our third and final mental glitch is a little more subtle, but believe me, it's just as damaging to building long-term wealth. It's called present bias, and it's the main reason we so often sabotage our own futures.
So take a look at these two choices. Logically, you know choice B is way better. A 50% return is fantastic. But for a lot of us, that immediate certainty of choice A feels overwhelmingly more attractive. And why is that? It's because our survival brain is hardwired to value rewards we can get right now,
way more than ones in the distant future. And that's the textbook definition of present bias. Our brain just massively discounts the future. A reward that's years away feels abstract. It doesn't feel real, especially compared to a smaller reward we can have in our hands today. This is the root cause of why so many people undersave for retirement while overspending on today's little comforts.
I absolutely love this quote because it just gets right to the heart of it. When you make a decision that sacrifices your long-term goals for some short-term fun, it's because your brain literally doesn't have a strong emotional connection to that future version of yourself. It's almost as if you're just giving away your money to a complete stranger.
So we've seen how our brains are hardwired with all these biases that lead to really bad financial decisions. And yeah, the situation might seem a little bleak, but here's the good news. The solution is not to try and fight your brain. It's to build a smarter system around it.
Okay, let's be really clear about this. You're not going to eliminate loss aversion or get rid of your herd instinct. These things are just too deeply wired into us. So instead of trying to rewire your brain, which is pretty much impossible, the goal is to create a framework, a system for your decisions that knows these biases are coming and neutralizes them ahead of time. And a really successful system rests on 3 core pillars. First, education, so you actually understand what's happening inside your own head. Second, automation, to take your emotional, impulsive self out of the driver's seat. And third, transparency, to keep your goals crystal clear and your expectations grounded in reality.
Let's quickly break that down. Education is what we're doing right now, learning about these biases so you can spot them when they show up. Automation means using tools like systematic investment plans, or SIPs, and automatic portfolio rebalancing to make investing a disciplined habit, not an emotional reaction to the news. And transparency? That just means setting clear, realistic goals and avoiding that temptation to chase crazy, unrealistic returns.
So we'll end with a question for you to think about. When it comes to your own money, who's really in the driver's seat? Is your strategy guided by a disciplined set of rules you created to achieve your long-term goals? Or is it being driven by emotional, knee-jerk reactions to fear and greed? Just understanding that distinction, that's the very first step to working with your ancient brain, instead of letting it constantly work against you.